Hello everyone, Chaos here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. With the current trend on the channel of revamping some older guides, one thing we haven't done recently is going over AFK activities since my last video back in August of last year. Since then, the game has had a ton of updates, many of which are AFK friendly, and some that I think Jagex didn't even intend to make AFK. So while we can, let's take advantage of them and show you the best ways to train without paying much attention in 2024 and beyond. Boys and girls, if you enjoy what I do here, consider subscribing with notifications on and drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. If you need any help with your adventures or just want to chill with the community, join our Discord with the link in the description. Just like the previous video, I have to remind you that the term AFK in old school RuneScape doesn't necessarily have the same meaning or concept as opposed to other games. Some people take it to the extreme and call things like Vorkath AFK, but I'm not gonna go that far. Regardless, all the activities you see here will provide great gains versus time and effort needed. Grab your favorite drink and snack, and let's start the 2024 AFK guide for old school RuneScape. As I like to structure my videos, we will start with one of the newest bosses in the game, Scurious the Rat King. If you didn't know, this is a great way to train your combat skills, which is why we will visit this method in another video. But other than combat experience, we are focusing on something else, which is a new pet. Doing Scurious will be a 2-for-1 situation because not only is it a great AFK activity under the right circumstances because you won't need to pay much attention at all, but Scurious is one of the few, if not the only, AFK boss pet you can achieve in old school RuneScape. We have two ways of attempting this, both of which can be a little expensive, but definitely worth it for a new pet that requires almost no attention at all. The first one is by wearing full Gothan's armor with prior enhancing gear, and with Protect from Melee and Piety Enable, chances of you dying here are pretty low because of the massive heals from your items. The second one may seem a little more expensive, but if you have more money, this one could be safer than Gothan's. Take full Virtues and a staff that can auto-cast ancient spells, and set your default cast to blood spells, preferably single target to avoid spending too many runes. This might be a little slower, but you will barely fall dangerously low on HP, especially if you heal on the big rats after the main fight. I know we are starting with an activity that's pretty high on the requirements to make it truly AFK, but don't worry, this is pretty much the most demanding one in terms of levels and gear, so it only gets easier from here. A method we have seen in the previous video is defeating Sulfur Naguas in the Nepotli dungeon, but there's something I didn't mention about them back then, which is why I'm including them here to give you new information regarding a revisited topic. We will be camping these new monsters for combat experience because you can make supplies here, making this method 0 GP input, and you will keep everything they drop. What I did not know back then is that if you wear the Sulfur Blades, they have a special effects against Sulfur Naguas which makes them take an additional 4 damage per hit splat. Paired with the powerful potions made inside, and especially if you're a mid or even late game player looking for AFK combat experience, this will be one of the best activities for low effort and high gains. I'm doing a 2-for-1 here because neither of these require too much time to talk about them, but if you didn't know, the Sulfur Naguas drop an item called Sulfurous Essence. You will get these in batches from 6 to 10, and by going to the Nagua in the chest room at the Nepotli dungeon, you will get 50 runecrafting experience for each of these. Whenever you watch an AFK video, I bet a lot of them classify Zeya runecrafting as AFK. The thing with this activity is that most of the AFK time comes from mining dense essence blocks, and that's pretty much it. The time it takes to imbue them, chip them, go back to the mine, and then to the blood or soul altar makes this not as AFK as a lot of people might think. With Sulfur Naguas and Sulfurous Essence, runecrafting is actually AFK from March 2024 and beyond. Granted, you will be getting a ridiculously small amount of experience per hour. In the previous video, and again, as you will see in many AFK videos, we talked about the Nightmare Zone by using either standard melee items, or even the powerful Darok set to get some ridiculous hits on your way to 99 combats. This time around we are combining two things we have seen before, and we will be using the Venator Bow at the Nightmare Zone. When training ranged here, people would typically use a blowpipe because of the 2-tick attack speed, and on the lower end, even crossbows could be taken into account. With the Venator Bow, we have another way of getting high experience per hour without using a single GP for supplies, except for arrows. I will assume you already know the basics behind the Nightmare Zone, but if you don't, go check out my guide, which is still fairly relevant despite being a few years old at this point. When you deposit money to pay for an encounter, grab 2, 3, or 4 overload potions and fill the rest of your inventory with absorption potions, chugging them as soon as you enter the arena, and use that locator orb or rock cake to go down to 1 HP. Before you go in, make sure to pick enemies that can only damage you with the regular attacks and don't have any funny business going on like poison or dragon fire. Once everything is set, all you need to do is turn auto retaliate on and let your character do the rest. The cool thing about the Nightmare Zone is that almost like the Neputsley dungeon, besides the 32k payment before a game, you don't have to spend a single coin here, and your points will give you tons of benefits and even supplies you can sell on the Grand Exchange. Up next we have Prayer. This has always been mostly AFK if you go to a house with a gilded altar, and just let your character use up all the bones before you have to go resupply outside. We now have a new way to train AFK towards some prayer experience, and this is a little crazier than traditional methods. Thanks to the addition of Alamore, you can now go to Rallus's Rise west of the area, and with noted bones in your inventory, trade them with the NPC at the base of the altar, bless them, and use a chisel on them to get a bit of AFK time. You will notice that you are not getting any prayer experience from this, but that is where the beauty of this method comes into play. With your bone shards in your inventory, and with either jugs of blessed wine or jugs of blessed sunfire wine, you can then go to the libation pool and get insane experience drops every single tick. The great thing about this method is that it offers more experience per bone, and obviously the drawback is that you can't really do this super fast unless you have all the materials ready. Regardless, if you have some time to kill and want a cheaper prayer experience that will fly by with all of the materials ready, the new prayer activity in Valamore is the way to go. One of my absolute favorite AFK magic training methods that also provides a bit of profit on your way to 99 is Plank Make. I have included this method in many of my previous videos, and just like how you will see Vorkath in almost any money-making video, Plank Make sees a triumphant return. You need a quest to Lunar Diplomacy, 86 magic, astral, nature and earth runes, a healthy cash stack, and as many mahogany planks as you can buy. The cool thing about it is that unlike Superheat, for which you need smithing levels to smelt each type of ore into a bar, Plank Make is able to make planks out of any of the 4 sets of logs. I say mahogany because this will almost always be the most profitable, and when the market is being a little volatile, the other 3 planks will even lose some money. Once everything is set, go to your favorite bank and click on the spell when starting a new batch of planks. You also have the option to manually cast the spell on each log, which will massively increase your profit and experience per hour, but remember, we are here just for AFK. Remember that for this method, you absolutely have to play with sound effects off, because this sound is just as bad as the Armadillo Crossbow special attack or the Nail Beast attacks. The only method we will be showcasing for agility is both pretty expensive and has possibly the highest requirement in the entire list. But it's something I learned in the past few months, and it's just way too funny to avoid including it in the video. Until now, the only true ways to AFK train agility was through barbarian fishing and the bike at the blast furnace. Well, thanks to players' creativity, there's a way to get AFK agility experience in the POH. You need to build a throne room with a lever, and underneath you will create a dungeon with an oubliette room, which serve as your spawn point. Make 2 corridors leading up to a treasure room, and you will build 2 traps in each of the corridors, and then a 5 caves ranger in the treasure room. Once done, go to the throne room and click on the challenge mode lever, go down with auto retaliate on, and manually walk up to the ranger until it sees you. This will start the AFK cycle, and your character will try to go in melee distance of the ranger, but might get caught in the traps, sending you back to the beginning. By avoiding the traps you will get agility experience, and the lower your level, the less likely it will be for you to clear all 8 of them, which means more AFK time by sending you back to the spawn point to repeat the cycle. If you make it across, you simply need to walk back until you fail the traps again, and hope you fall for all of them for as much AFK time as possible. The only drawback to this is that you need level 88 for the traps, and that for you to make everything you need a hefty sum of cash. This will be well worth it for one of the most creative ways to train in the game. Okay, let's speed it up because we are not even halfway done with the methods. In the previous video, I reminded you that automatically cleaning herbs was a super AFK way to train Herblore. But this time around, I feature something I have never even thought of, and it is making tar and herb combinations. Grab as big of a stack of swamp tar as possible, and combining it with certain herbs, it will give you a ton of AFK time because these take a lot longer to process. The downside is that this will never be profitable, and at the time of making this video, you are better off training with Marantile or Terramin for the lowest cost possible. This will be incredibly slow, but definitely not as expensive as making potions. In my previous Valamore video, we talked about 2 new thieving activities which focus on AFK experience gains. When you are at the bazaar, little kids will distract wealthy citizens, which makes you able to auto-pickpocket them for several seconds. And even if you only do this on your time to AFK, you will get a decent thieving experience for the effort needed. It will be a lot better for one of the items you can pickpocket being house keys. When you have a bunch of them, go to the house district, and whenever you see an empty house, go inside and start stealing from their storage. If you play with sound effects on, you will hear the little kids whistle, meaning that it is time to get out. The GP reward you get from this is absolutely laughable, but remember, we are just here for AFK gains, which is a superior way of doing it compared to pickpocketing wealthy citizens. For fletching, we know that creating unstrung bows from the highest possible log is a great way to train. But if you want something different that is also profitable, remember that using a chisel on cut gems will produce gem tips for bolts. This is almost the same as creating unstrung bows because you can make 27 per inventory, but check prices before you buy a big bulk, since not all the gems are profitable. In the previous video I said that I don't recommend mining shooting stars because at the time, the amount of people at specific stars affected how long you can AFK, and the more players, the quicker it depleted. This time around, shooting stars were changed to make it so it depletes after a set timer, not affected by how many people are mining it. This is not a sponsor, but I recommend a website called OSRS Portal for you to check out star locations and then go to AFK mining for hours at a time with almost zero effort for the duration. If you want to train mining and also help with a runecrafting skill, by completing the quest Sins of the Father, you will be able to mine Day-Elf Essence in the mines under Dark Mayor. Grab the best pickaxe you can, and whatever fashionscape you want, including your Vire Noble outfit, and mine the active deposit for about 1 minute of AFK. If you zoom out all the way, you will be able to see which one is glowing, and you will only need a little bit of camera movement to see where the next one is. When you're done, talk to the vampire in the mine to exchange your shards for essence, and use it whenever you're training runecrafting for 50% increased experience, which is a great 2-for-1. Cannonballs were also featured in the previous video, but this time we are going to either the Varrock or Priffinus Anvil to make items that require a single metal bar. Most of the time, Mithril and Adamant Darts are where the money is at, since only a small amount of items will net profit. If you are looking for AFK but would like just a little bit faster, remember that the full Smith's uniform has an effect to guarantee Anvil's smithing speed up by 1 tick. If you don't get it though, this just means more AFK time. As you all know, cooking is simply an AFK skill if you don't take wines or 1 tick Karambwan into account. With the addition of Valamor and the new hunter creatures, we now have more meat to cook that can make for a great profit, especially Moonlight Antelope meat. This item is now the best healing food in the game, but will immediately heal for 14 and an extra 12 shortly after. Because of this, it is pretty sought after for PVMers looking to extend their trips, so definitely a great item to cook on your way to 99. And referencing my previous video, I said that at the time, bonfires were being planned as a part of the forestry expansion. This has now been in the game for several months, and the best places to do it at are the Grand Exchange and the Crafting Guild. Use a tinder box on a set of logs, and then right-click on the fire to add more logs to it. The downside to this is that each log will only provide 33% of the experience you would gain by simply lighting them up. So it's up to you to choose AFK for one of the fastest 99s in the game, or by training it actively. It may seem like I'm recycling this one, but for woodcutting, we will be cutting redwood trees. Now, what's different from last time? Thanks to forestry, we now have 2 items that will increase AFK woodcutting times massively. By equipping Felling Axe instead of a regular hatchet, and by having Forester's Rations in your inventory or forestry kits, you have a 20% chance of not receiving a log. On top of that, you will gain 10% extra woodcutting experience per log. The last method on this list is something I've only ever shown on my 1 to 99 woodcutting guide, but it's a great time to remind you of this activity. By going to Dark Mayor with any axe of your choice, you can chop the Blister wood tree for decent experience per hour, but the catch is that you will randomly stop cutting the tree. In October of 2022, we had an update that plays a sound whenever this happens, so if you're too focused on something else, crank that audio up to know when to continue woodcutting. Boys and girls, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for coming and for making it this far. If you did, tell me what your favorite AFK activity is in old school RuneScape and how you personally do it. If you include the term RSN in your comment, you will be entered in our weekly bond giveaway, for which we will pick a winner on Friday's stream. I want to thank each and every person you see here for supporting what I do on this channel, and you can do so with a monetary pledge which all goes towards my starving family, as we hide from the cartel. If you click the join button below, you will see all the cool perks and rewards you can get for a monthly subscription in the videos, in the live streams, and of course in the Discord. That being said, I will see you in the next video where I will go over a few tips to increase your Slayer experience gains by telling you more things I have learned over the course of nearly 37 million experience. For now, I hope you have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.